welcome to the Should I Play This Game podcast for the 7th of October, number 308. How are you, Steve?
Yeah, not bad, mate, not bad. What the fuck's you got going on there? You're looking around like something like, I don't
I
know,
just want to
dog
make
at
sure
your
it
feet?
make sure it didn't roll over gas when I rolled back a bit.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So I've done that once or twice before, and it's a very unpleasant noise when they get run over.
Oh yeah, they tend not to like that
No,
when you do that.
no.
It's like, oh, you fucker. It's a good thing
Okay.
dogs can't talk.
Yes. How are you,
Who
sir?
can tell what sort of racist, anti-Semitic or whatever other stuff dogs would say?
How are you?
Yeah, right. I'm sore.
What?
Old man owies, playing basketball, man. Fuck.
No, okay.
Oh, I had a very small basketball tournament on Thursday, and Jesus Christ. Like, my right ankle hurts more, and I didn't even do anything to it. What the fuck? Old man Hurties.
You might have an issue with your fuse if that's the case, maybe.
Oh, the shoes are pretty new.
Yes.
I didn't take a tumble. Like, there were injuries left and right. There was at least one, like, pretty serious ankle sprain that happened literally right in front of me. There was at least, if you include I tweaked my ankle in one game, and then there was a jarring of a finger, at least one other ankle or knee thing, and a back thing that we just ended up just gritting and playing through. It was like, fuck. Didn't even win either. Lost the final by 1 point.
Is it a score thing? It wasn't a score thing, was it? Because your score's off. So it must have just been.
Well, it's the quote unquote teachers' games. So it's a bunch of teachers playing each other.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
And I'm going to just put this out there. Just because people are teachers doesn't make them good people.
Well,
there's at least one dirty little fucker on another team.
They're just a subset of the society, so that makes sense.
Indeed. I was trying to back one, like, I was backing a dude down, and he was a bit smaller than me, and I hit him, bumped against him once. I'm like, oh, yeah, I got this. Great. And then, not knowing, he's backed off as I've gone to go back again. And it's colloquially known as pulled the chair, and it's a fucking dirty move. And I'm like, gone down again. I'm like, what the? Oh. Dirty fuckers. Yeah, disappointing. And then, so getting up and getting down, like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, knees, thighs, which I think thighs are top of your leg, aren't they?
Mm. Yeah, they're of your knee, basically. Yeah.
They were, oh, Jesus Christ, they were incredibly sore. I tweaked my left ankle during the thing, so that was a bit sore. And somehow my right one was sore as well.
Did you do any
my neck's sore.
Did you do any warm-up at all? Or did you start playing?
Warm up.
Okay, then that's why you've got injuries then. Okay, fair enough. That makes perfect sense now. Something to do with age.
I was going into it with already, like, when I was shooting beforehand, like, before the thing, like, last weekend, my knee was giving me a bit of grief. I'm like, oh, this probably isn't good. And then, like, neck's been having issues for a bit. Like, apparently there's some soft tissue damage or something in there. Ankles are just perpetually fucked because, like, every time you sprain them, it becomes easier to sprain them. And having played basketball on and off in various forms for the last 30 years, I have sprained them multiple times each.
Yeah.
So shit was just fucked.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, you go and collect the medals. I'm like, all right, fine. And I'm walking, and they're like, are you putting that shit on? I'm like, fuck no, it fucking hurts. I was like, old man walking, just like the worst old man walking you've ever seen. Fortunately, I had a trolley at the shops the next day because, god damn it, that basically functioned as a walker. Old man Hurties. Exercise overrated. Fuck doing anything. If you stand still, you can't get hurt. Or sit still.
But also, you're not a particularly effective teammate either when you're doing that.
Well, that's why I was doing some quote unquote training and work to get ready for it. I was playing basketball after school every 2-ish times a week for the first 5 weeks or so of term. Then my neck started giving me shit. So I'm like, oh fuck, this isn't good. And then I tried a couple times in the holidays, and I was just like, it didn't help that we played. There was literally, because there were literally only 3 teams, and we were one of them. Like, we played the first 3 games, and then we had a game off, and then it was the final. And any time, like you're sitting for basically a full game, just completely cooling down. So then it's like, oh, let's try and get this. Oh no, oh shit, oh fuck.
Okay. Hence why I'm saying you should do some warm-ups to get back up into it. But
Nah,
what do you do? Just
warm-ups
run
are
up and
overrated, man.
Just run up the court a couple of times. That's all you need to do. Don't just stretch or anything. Just
I was putting some shots up before the game and things like that. That's my warm-up.
yeah, it's not the same. Me.
No, not when you're particularly not when you're beyond, let's say, 40.
Mm.
Shit, that shit was hurting like when I was beyond 30. Gotten beyond 40 now. Whoo!
Anyway.
Oh, fuck me.
From one type of game to another type.
Oh, boom! What a quality segue. Like the thing you could ride on. The Segway. Boom. There you go. There's another good joke for you. Anyway, I finished Nobody Wants to Die. I ended up having about 3 or 4 hours-ish left after we last spoke about it. The visual quality upheld. Most of the writing quality held up towards the end of the game. The last 10 to 15% sort of drops the ball a little bit. In a way, like if I talk too much about it, then I'm going to spoil it. So I'm not going to talk specifically about it because I think
I do want to play this game.
Yeah, and I think the experience as a whole. Hey,
I bought it to play it, so yeah.
There you go. The experience as a whole is absolutely worth going through. I think it's like really quite well written throughout. It's just the last 10 to 15% of the story that doesn't quite hold up as well as the 90 to 85 to 90% that precedes it. But fuck me, that still looks fucking gorgeous. Particularly that ending. There's an ending section where you're running through a much more lit area. Not lit like party lit, but lit as in more lighting. And it looks really nice. I took some screenshots using the old F12 screenshot key and used that. They're now background, like wallpaper for my computer. Because, man, it just it looks good. Particularly for a smallish developer. Like a lot of the reviews talked about, the detective stuff is repetitious, it holds your hand, blah, blah, but it's like, it's not there to be a full-blown detective game. It's more that walking simulator style with detective forensic elements. I said before we started recording that if I had included all the games I played in various videos, that this list would be at least 2 to 3 times as long. And comparing this, I played, I'm not going to talk about it, but Shadows of Doubt, which just came out in 1.0, which is the voxel procedurally generated detective game. And that is way more detective heavy. And if this had have done that, nope. Because I fell off that hard after just like looking around going, what am I meant to do? And then I just stopped playing. But this, I finished. That's fucking good. People should play it. Another game that's fucking good that people should play, Angerfoot. I have finished it. And it's really good. If people did, and I'm pretty sure I said something along these lines when we talked about it last time, but if people liked Hotline Miami, this is a first-person Hotline Miami. There were only 2 achievements that I didn't get, and both of them were collection-related. So there's skeletons in each of the levels that you can kick, and that's the basis of one achievement, so finding and kicking 60 skeletons. And then getting all the stars, so completing all the challenges. Which, given that some of them are get through the level without killing anyone or get through the level without taking any damage, nah. I unlocked all the shoes. That was enough for me. And the clever achievements in the little interstitial levels between your more action-based levels are really cool. But I dig this. It was unfortunate because towards the end, I don't know if the back half of the game was perhaps as well optimized as maybe the front half, but there were a little bit more frame rate issues that come up. But it is what it is. Some really interesting weapons, some really interesting enemy types that like working against, trying to kill. There's a dude, I can't remember if I said this last time, so I'm going to say it this time. There is a dude or an enemy that throws snakes at you from a basket. His head is the snakes. His legs are snakes. His arms are snakes. And it's fucking fantastic. Yeah, people should play it. It's fucking fair. I really dug this. It is on my ever-growing list of games of 2024. Where it comes on the top 10. But it's super strong. I think the writing is mostly pretty good. I mean, literally, they called the crime-infested city you play in Shit City. And there's a really interesting twist on that in the ending. That the crime minister, not prime minister, but crime minister wants to enact. And I thought that was really funny as well. So, but yeah, it's great. People should play it. Yet another game I finished. There's actually a few of those. Fallen Leaf I actually finally got through. Just shy of 15 hours. Got the true ending. Finished with 89% completion. As much as I ended up finishing it, there was a part of me that there's a part of me that kind of didn't want to, because the back third of it became really reliant on obstacles or enemies appearing either out of nowhere or off screen. So like you might have a gap in the roof and there might be a dude that comes down and shoots you with something as you're jumping under it. It was like, hey, fuck you. Which sort of artificially lengthens things a little bit, obviously, because you're getting hit more often, you're dying more often, stuff like that. And it just sort of frustrates and makes it just a little bit longer. Realistically, I probably could have and maybe even should have stopped playing around World 4, because that was where it was really starting to happen. Part of it was my own fault because I didn't buy any healing items because I was like, I haven't needed them before. I don't need them now.
Yep.
And maybe I could have used them, but like I was using the currency I was collecting to buy other stuff. So I was like, meh. I find, and this was a conversation we had around Deathloop, where after a certain point or after a certain number of hours, I feel like if I don't finish the game, that stopping playing a game, it's just a waste. It's just a complete waste. I'm not like, so I have to finish it, which is what happened here. It's a weird, dumb, stupid mindset thing, because I walked away from Deathloop after about 20 hours. And that kind of feels like a waste, because I obviously didn't see it all, but it's a dumb me thing. No.
Yeah, I can sort of get
So,
it, but I mean that just comes down to probably the point with Deathloop is you probably should have stopped playing earlier than 20 hours, so you didn't think you wasted more time, if that makes sense.
I think it was more trying to figure out where that next, like the progression in Deathloop just became so glacial, and it was so much repetition. Trying to figure out what the next step was and making the progress to that next step was what really got in the way. I was like, okay, surely the next thing's coming. The next thing's coming. Fuck this.
Yeah.
That was where it was about the 15 to 20 hour mark where I'm like, nah, but I'm making no progression here. I'm just repeating the same shit, trying to figure out what to do. I didn't really want to look it up, because the whole thing about that game was, it's fucking fantastic. The way it's put together, its progression, it's really creative. Yeah, but if you can't find that shit and it's not particularly laid out as well as perhaps it could be, then finding and enjoying those things doesn't really happen as much.
Yeah, but then that's the decision they made, so yeah.
Whereas this was sorry.
No, you're right. No, go.
This was less that and more just a reliance on frustrating and just, like, to an extent, annoyingly bullshit mechanics to make it take longer.
Yeah.
Which that's where it was starting to be a bother. And like those I can overcome. And I did. Did I enjoy it as much by the end as I was at the start? No. But there's at least one game that we've talked about this year in Surmount that I felt really strongly at the start, and then after about 5 hours, like, fuck this. And funnily enough, there's another game I'm going to get to in a sec that actually did the exact same thing. But yeah, so Fallen Leaf, it's okay. Oh man, this might be one of my biggest disappointments of the year. It is Bow Path of the Teal Lotus. It is, I guess, a search action or Metroidvania Souls-like combination. It has a really nice sort of hand-drawn art style. It's in a different way from Nine Souls. But holy shit. And the reason I can make that comparison is they are both very close analogs, or at least Bow is a very close analog to Nine Souls in that they're both Metroidvania sort of search action games. They both have that Souls combat element to it. Everything about Nine Souls was far superior to this. Narratively, artistically, orally, the gameplay, definitely. Because there were times I was pressing the button to attack, nothing. And I'm like, is this controller shitting itself? What's going on? Go, like, boot up a control tester online. Nope, it was working fine. So, like, the biggest cardinal sin of any sort of very combat-heavy game where it's animation priority heavy, it's very damaging if you get hit, things like that, these sort of Souls-adjacent games, is that if the games don't work, you're fucked. I mean, sorry, the controls don't work like consistently, you're fucked.
No, yeah.
And it just makes the game way more frustrating than it has any right to be. And I made a comment on the discussion board about it, and the developer was like, oh, what controller are we using, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, this. Haven't heard nothing back. But another dude was like, yeah, I've tried like 8 different controllers with this thing. None of them work. I was like, shit, that's worse than what I had. It tries to do the Hollow Knight thing of none of the enemies
I was just looking at the video, the screenshots that are on this, and yeah, if it wasn't for color, you'd almost think it's got more color in than Hollow Knight, but it's definitely got that same sort of style to it.
Ooh, yep. And like you say, Hollow Knight, it tries to do the Hollow Knight thing by not showing any like hit like damage bar or any sort of damage indicator for the enemies. So you're just hitting them and hoping at some point they die.
Yeah.
Which that was a frustration in Hollow Knight, but everything else around it worked so well that you could overlook that. This didn't. Because some of the bosses I ran into, I ran into a couple of bosses. I beat one, there was one I didn't beat. And it was just like they do combat avoidance strategies where sometimes like they drop projectiles in your pathway as you're navigating around the actual like area of the fight, just completely randomly. Sometimes just directly into your path as you're moving. Like I think it was like a big beetle thing. And I had an attack where it'd roll around the 4 walls, kind of like Blanca in Street Fighter, but it'd drop rocks from the ceiling as it do it. And as you're trying to jump around the boss moving and everything else, you'd sometimes just drop straight, like have a rock drop straight on you as you're trying to avoid them. So I was like, what the fuck? And like, yeah, I'm shocked at how poorly this turned out because I was seriously looking forward to this based on the look, based on the pedigree and the genre, established expectations, the positive reviews. Like there were a lot of reviews that were very positive of this thing. And then I played it and it's such a bummer between like the gulf between expectation and hopes and reality is fucking huge. Like an order of magnitude larger than the Sacred Acorn, which we talked about last podcast, where I was hopeful for that, but disappointed. I was like, there's no possible way you can fuck this up. Like, it looks really nice. It seems to move and play really well. And then I played it and they fucked it up. So it's like, okay, cool. I'm happy to go to about an hour and make my decision if I want to keep going. Any more than that, I'm kind of like, have I wasted my time here? Like playing back into that dilemma, I guess we talked about earlier. Earl versus the Mutants. A arse game. Well, it's not an arse game by default. You can go into the settings and go into the menu and turn on auto shoot and auto aim, which makes it an arse game. Otherwise, it's a dual joystick shooter.
Okay.
So you play as Earl,
Mm-hmm.
this lovely gentleman here in the key art, for those watching the video, and he drives a truck around. And you're basically in an arena, and there's mutants and zombies and shit running at you, and you drive around, running them over, have to survive for 20 minutes till a boss comes out, and you're collecting XP, leveling up, getting perks and additional weapons and things like that. And it's one of those.
Mm-hmm.
The unfortunate part, well, there's a few unfortunate parts. One, the level variety, the weapon variety is pretty minimal.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 3 levels. What you're actually doing from moment to moment, though, in something like Vampire Survivors or the better games in that genre, there's other things around the map to do, like to go to different locations, get other weapons, do little jobs or little activities that while away that time. There's literally the finding of, was it Earl in the environment, but it'll only show you where it is briefly once you've picked one of those letters up. And the environments, A, are quite big, and B, those letters are hanging in the air, so you have to jump off the right ramp to hit it. And it was very pedantic about that, which is frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just a hell of grind heavy. Like, way more so than a lot of these games that I've played. As an example, I got to the boss of the second level, which was the second of 3 levels. It had 400,000 hit points. Doesn't seem too bad, depending on the level of damage output you can do, stuff like that. I had it set where I was basically recovering health so much that I wasn't taking damage.
Okay. Yep.
I was basically invincible.
Mm-hmm.
But because there was a challenge, so like a lot of games of this type, it'll throw up some challenges for you to complete as you're playing through the level, like kill X number of enemies, do this, do that. And one of them was don't collect any of the crates, which this old lady leaves for you, which is sort of one of the ways you can get extra weapons for your truck. So I didn't have any of those. So when it came time to fight the boss, I literally spent 20, 30 minutes driving around that arena, kiting the dude around to try and finish off this letter collection thing. And then I spent 5-10 minutes with the controller on the desk, just sitting there waiting as the shooting of the truck was hitting the boss, because I wasn't taking any damage. And it was like trying to use an angle grinder to cut through an iron beam. It's just so long-winded. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, and after I did that, I'm like, okay, yeah, we're done here. It's just a really basic one of those. And it's one of those games where you know that once you stop playing it, you're never going back to it again. So I, for some stupid reason, did that boss fight, and I'm like, yeah, we're done, quit, uninstall. Which, yeah. It was a bit of a bummer, but, you know. Man, speaking of bombers, fucking hell. Super does. So we had our own issues with trying to get this to actually show right because of dumb shit with because we use the Internet Games database to give us the very lovely information that you've been able to show on the game stuff here. There was fuck all of it in the IGDB for this game, from like who the developer was and all that sort of stuff, which was weird. This is a super interesting idea where you're in a dungeon and the dungeon's mouth is chasing you, eating the environment as you go.
Okay.
So you have to escape the dungeon and escape the dungeon trying to eat you. So there's 2 levels of trying to escape the dungeon. 2 components get in the way of that. One, much like Crypt of the Necro Dancer, it's not exactly rhythmic, but it's quote-unquote turn-based. As you move, the enemies in the environment move.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
So it does that sort of thing. Only problem is, the mouth doesn't do that. The mouth moves at very set, specific intervals. The other problem is, when you're trying to engage in combat against the enemies in the level, Whereas in Necro Dancer, if you missed the timing, you'd jump into the enemy, hit them, they'd hit you. This does that persistently.
Okay.
So you can't engage in combat without taking damage. Which, okay, fine. But there's also, like, that part makes it just incredibly frustrating and annoying to play, despite the great idea behind it. And then there's the extra added level of benefit of the developer just seems to be a mincing fuckwit. So he's added an update because there are enough people seemingly, quote unquote, complaining about the difficulty, where he put in what he called a WIMP mode, as in WIMP. Described it as, even the most blockheaded player can finish this, which, number one, fuck off. And then seemed to respond to any criticism or anything where it's like, oh, you can always put it on WIMP mode if you're not skilled enough to play it. I was like, go fuck yourself, man, you fucking arrogant piece of shit. I could rant more about some of the other dumb things I saw that dipshit post, but fuck him and fuck his game. But anyway, it's such a good idea wasted, which is a real shame. I should have known going into Valley Peaks that I was going to have the exact same experience with some mounts. The first couple hours, I'm like, this is great. But then, of course, because it's a climbing game, they need to put dumb gimmicky bullshit in there to make the climbing harder, so fuck you. So I got, like, the gimmicky stuff started really getting... There was, like, rocks where they go traffic light. So green, you can climb. When it turns yellow, you can keep holding onto it, but you can't actually climb it any further. When it's red, it lets go. Oh, yeah, okay. But then it puts them at very specific intervals. You have to try and jump and time the jumps and all that sort of stuff. I was wondering why there was some parts like in the collect. So you'd find juice boxes to collect to unlock different color schemes, things like that. There's an entire row that's completely absent from the screen that shows which ones you've collected. It's because when you go through and climb the top of all the fucking mountains and do what it actually asks you to do, it progresses to a new season and wipes your progress and says, do it again. Like, apparently the climbs are differentiated and remixed, but I'm like, hang on. You want me to basically do this twice? Go fuck yourself. So once I read that and I was getting to the gimmicky bullshit that was just annoying me, I'm like, get fucked. Fuck this. You can go fuck yourself. So I stopped playing it and uninstalled it. So that was about 3 or 4 hours I got into that, which is a bummer. But anyway. I know I've talked a lot about negative experiences. This game was not one, thank God. Dungeons of Hinterberg came out earlier, came out in July. It was on Game Pass, which is where I played it. It is also on Steam. You know how when we were doing the Plucky Squire checkout, we mentioned Zelda a lot? Yeah, this is basically 3D Zelda.
Oh, okay.
It's like, hey, magic has come to Hinterberg and it's opened a bunch of dungeons. And when all the dungeons get defeated, that's when the magic goes away. And you go into those dungeons and I don't want to say simplistic, that sort of minimizes it, but the puzzle design is relatively simplistic to the point where I didn't need to look anything up. The combat has a light attack and a heavy attack. Each of the 4 areas you go into, you get a set of 2 spells specific for that area, but it has a fucking amazing look. Its story has a lot of different interesting ideas that it's trying to get across, like around sort of tourists, I guess, abuse, or the sort of tourist industry abusing sort of areas and taking advantage of different areas. It's not a quote-unquote world beater in play, like gameplay, but it plays well enough that it's interesting and engaging to actively do. I finished it in just under 15 hours. Those 15 hours were across 2 days. That's the extent to which I was engaged by this thing. I think it is I don't think it's going to probably top Plucky Squire from a visual perspective. Because I don't think anything's going to top Plucky Squire from a visual perspective, if I'm honest. But this is a super, super strong thing that I was a little unsure of heading into it because, again, there were some really, really positive reviews, but there were some that were a little bit, no, this is boring, this is shit, this is simplified, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't, I thought I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of variety in the different character types you come across. There's a little bit of archetypal stuff with some of the characters there. Like there's a dude who's full on matrixed up in his attire. There's like your quote unquote prototypical goth teenager. But there's some other characters that sort of break type. Like the old lady here that you can see in the key art. She's very much your very prototypical upper class snob.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. This dude is kind of your prototypical influencer type to an extent, because this world has like Slayer as an occupation, kind of like Buffy, where you go from place to place and kill monsters. I don't know if it's clear in the key art though. His glasses have the word loot written on them. The frame of the glasses make out the word loot, and it's pretty great. And there's a dog you can be friends with, and he'll sometimes just rock up in these environments and dig up a chest, and it gives you money and sometimes other items. And it's like, yeah, what a great dog. There's plenty more I could say about this. I don't want to spend all the time just going, hey, this game's fucking incredible, when I could just say, this game is fucking incredible. People should play it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you buy it or play it on Game Pass, either way, it's got a fantastic look. It's written really, really well and has some things to say. Not just about the touristy elements, this idea of finding yourself, like when people sometimes go on holidays, they want to find themselves because work is crushing them and all that sort of stuff. That does really interesting ideas and presents really interesting stuff around that. It's super strong. I really dug it. Sadly, something else I didn't dig too much, which I was really hopeful going into, a game called Conscript. Australian developed.
I played this.
Seemingly.
I played this at PAX a couple of years back.
Oh, did you?
It was in the indie showcase area.
Yeah. It had a Victorian sort of government, the Screen Australia sort of splash screen, stuff like that. I wouldn't have pegged this as a game that you would dig.
Oh shit, no, no. I didn't. It was there to play. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah,
a lot of things I didn't like. I mean, visuals, I think it was pretty decent. Like
it's really going for the PlayStation 1 aesthetic.
Yeah, like it's interesting style. But it's obviously got the more modern version of that sort of stuff. Like can do lighting and that kind of stuff. Better than what it could back then. But the gameplay itself, it was just not for me at all. But
I agree. I actually agree with you.
Yeah, I think
because this is trying to do survival horror in World War One. So it takes the concept of there's been plenty of games that have done, obviously, action games in wartime. Obviously, World War II has been done almost pretty much to death. World War One has seen a few games set in it. But instead of doing, hey, supernatural, hey, magic, hey, monsters, it's literally the horrors of war that come through as the horror elements in this game. Really interesting idea. The only problem is that because it's World War One, the guns fucking suck, so they're not fun to use. Because, for example, you get a rifle, it's a legit bolt-action rifle, so between each shot, you have to, do the unbolting and rebolting, which, A, fuck that, it's annoying, but C, it also gets in the way of combat. Because sometimes, I played it for an hour and just nah, I'm not enjoying this. Because one of the first things you do is go to the front line, protect the trench, and it's just a bunch of dudes just flowing in from different places. And some of them are running up on you and hit you with a shovel. Okay, fine, they're not too bad to deal with. There's a dude there's a couple of guys with rifles. Okay, fine. There's this big fucking, tank, basically, that jumps down, and he's got full, basically, he's wearing a bucket almost for a helmet for armor. And that's the extent of the armor he's wearing. And obviously that takes a hell of a lot more damage to actually while away. But because of how rigid the systems are and how stiff a lot of the systems are and unreliable that the guns are, it wasn't enjoyable because I'd take out an enemy sometimes in 2 shots. Sometimes it'd take 8 shots to kill the same version of that enemy a little bit later.
Okay.
So I'm like, fuck this. Which, like, part of that I think is that World War One nature of these guns fucking suck.
Mm.
I didn't really. I thought the visuals were cool, like that PlayStation 1 style aesthetic was really, really cool. An interesting conceit, but when you start getting into it, it's very much like, nah. Because you're wandering around a lot, not really knowing where to go. And you've got this combat that doesn't work particularly well, but it also it is quite reflective of the time. It's very much an homage to that early or that classic PlayStation 1 era survival horror, particularly like your Resident Evils and your things like that. Only it was done way better in You Will Die Here Tonight. Because that took a lot of those elements and updated them or presented it in a way that made you think that's what it was back then, not what it actually is or what it actually was. Whereas this really is quite rigid to those older design values, which there's a reason why we've left those designs in the past. We've moved forward. We've made these things better. You don't need to do it this way. I don't know. When you look at the Resident Evil remakes as well, and it's like, man, those things were fucking fantastic, particularly 2 and 4. And then you go, hey, here's this like homage, and it keeps all the things that Resident Evil was back in the PlayStation 1. There's a reason why the remakes leave all that shit out. But again, a lot of really positive reviews from consumers and critics, and I just bounced off it. Which, bummer. Speaking of bummer, I saw this. I don't even know where the fuck I saw this. And I thought, this looks like a great little Zelda game. I'm going to grab it. So I started playing it. It is number one, a really nice art style again. Pretty simplistic, sort of, not pencil drawn, but that idea of his very simple ink-based cartoon imagery that you can see in the key art here, like this little Monkey King back. That's the Monkey King, by the way. Oh, this little guy. He's the chieftain of the monkey village, and he's just really tiny and he's cute. The graphically is the aesthetic and the like graphics are the best thing about it, because once you start playing it, number one gets really boring because things just take too long to get to, and takes too long to navigate the environment, takes too long to to engage in combat, and it again just takes too long. And then you see a bunch of collectible stuff when you pick up certain items. It's like X of 84, which is the number of hats that are in the game to collect. And I got 5 or 6 in the first hour. It's meant to take about 8 hours just to do the main story, about 20 to 22 hours. But I'm not going to play this for 20 to 22 hours because the gameplay mechanics just wouldn't hold water for that long. It'd just be super boring and just overly stretched out. The Zelda elements in it aren't awful. Like they're fairly rote, and it's very much a, hey, this is a throwback to or an homage or inspired by Link to the Past and the sort of 16-bit era of Zelda and the things that other games have done in that area. But if you tighten this game up and make it 6 to 12, fuck, it becomes a much better game. Because even in that first hour or so, I could go, yeah, this is going to take way too long, and I'm just getting so bored. Which, it's such a shame, because I like how it looks. I like Ogu in his weird little pelican or platypus simple drawing. It's really nice. Speaking of games that are really nice, though, fuck Cat Quest 3 is fantastic.
Told you. I already knew that.
I fucking knew I was going to love it.
It's a fantastic
and
game.
Hey?
It's a fantastic game.
Oh, it's fucking incredible. I don't know how close to the end I am, but I've played about, let's see what Steam says. 6.4 hours, and I feel relatively close to the end. The puns are at once both incredibly eye-rolling and incredibly clever. And I'm just like Meowtalica. I think that's As much as I dislike Metallica, I think that's really clever. Did you pick up on the one of the dungeons that the Meowtalica gang were in was Orion?
Mm.
Oh, you picked up on that? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I was clever for figuring that out. Everything that like Ogu and games like that aren't, Cat Quest 3 is. It's incredibly fun to play. It walks the line of simple and complex really, really well, and makes it fun. The writing is fucking so clever and also really well done.
No, it's really good. No.
And it actually does include hooks to the first two games.
Yeah.
So it actually uses those.
That was completely lost on me, of course, but yeah, I could see that would be there.
The most hooks I've seen are when you run into the weird looking dudes sometimes in the environment, and you go to this place where there's like 8 guys or 8 sort of statues standing in a triangular sort of shape. And there's the dude, the Cyclops looking dude that stands at the start, and that's where you get your mana. That's so far where those hooks are.
Oh, okay, cool.
What's that?
I got the impression from what little bits of dialogue, not dialogue per se, but spoken like on screen.
The exposition that's in those areas,
I thought that had some sort of link back to the first one. Obviously, I wasn't sure, but that makes sense. That's where it was, where it is.
Yeah. Man, it's so good. I've got 3 of the bounties in the tavern left to get. And 1 dungeon and 1 island to at least look into, and then try and figure out the rest of the treasure chests. I kind of want to get all the treasure chests if I can.
Yeah, I got them all.
I need to. I didn't.
They're probably not. They don't think there's some that you've got to actually complete the story to get them. I think from memory.
Oh, okay.
So some of the
there was one I had to look up because, or not even look up, just sort of hinted out because I saw like 5 up near where the squid pirates are, where there's just the 5 stones you can hit and they light up. But I couldn't figure out the actual order. Turns out the order's hinted at like over the other side of the mountain. I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'm curious of right now are the light up sort of totems that are in a few different places around the map. Where do you get the actual order for those at any point?
You do. Yes, you do.
All right, fantastic. Good to know.
Yep.
All right. There is at least one dungeon that I want to really go, this was fucking fantastic, but I think it's also a good enough spoiler that I think it's worth people playing this to actually find it. I will just say, because you will probably know what I mean when I say this, vampires. That was fucking, oh my god, number 1, fucking aesthetically, fantastic. Number 2, the actual in-game narrative reason why it's called what it's called, I almost like went, fuck off, but also pissed myself laughing. It's, This is a game series I shouldn't love as much as I do.
Why would you not like it? Why do you say that?
Well, number 1, it's cats are very central to it. I'm not a big fan of cats.
You play as a cat, but that's about as far as the extension goes.
Look, I know this. All right, I'm not.
They're not.
But god damn it! Oh, it's so good. It's so good, Graham. It's so good. To the point where it's either I'm finishing this after we finish recording, or I'm going to start on SteamWorld Heist 2.
Finish this.
Where are you with that, by the way?
I haven't got back to it. But,
okay.
Where did I get to? I got to have you take down a fort that was blocking the next progression of the story, and it's one where they actually made you mix up all your play styles, sort of thing. So in that game, you've got each character.
Oh, that's right. I remember you telling me this.
As a sort of set way it plays, like a set role, and this game makes them go and pick different weapons, which change how they play. And it just completely fucking threw me. I couldn't figure out how to play it. I only had one go at it, so it wasn't if I played it. I didn't attempt a lot of it, but you just threw me for a loop the first time I did it. I thought, I don't know how to play this.
I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do, so I didn't win that particular mission and just haven't gone back to it since.
Mm.
But
I am
do
just
plan to.
quickly. Oh yeah, that. But like I said, so again, I've said this a few times, but because I'm an idiot and I buy so many games, which part of the problem, because if people have seen the videos I put up in the last week or week and a bit, a lot of the games I played on those were like, I've bought this. Let's see if it's any good. Oh wait, no, it's not. Oh shit. And I'm working through it like in release order, waiting for the patches to have come through and stuff like that. And then, but I'll probably play Outlaws when it hits Steam because they're apparently doing most of the patching on that. Have you played any more of that?
No.
Well, actually, I was going to say I've seen your list of games and it's quite short. So no, you haven't played more of that. Are you waiting for the patches or just
I'm waiting to go back to it, but yeah, I mean, the one game is obviously taking back control of my life. So yeah, at some point I'll
the game,
the game, yeah. I'll
the
yeah,
it game. No.
I'll stop playing that or play less of it, and then I'll start to get back to other games like the Plucky Sky, which we'll talk about in a bit, and back to Man Hurties 2, and back to Sumerian 6 and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a bunch of games that are basically effective in my end just put on hold.
Yeah. There are a couple of games I played in some of those videos I think you'll dig. I think maybe Roots of Yggdrasil is something you might like, but we can talk about that later. But that's basically what I played, and I do have... do I have much listens? I'm not 100% sure I do, because I haven't really listened to them enough. There's a couple of EPs I want to shout out, but I haven't fully listened to them, so I don't know if I will right now or next time. Next time.
All right, next time.
I'll call them out next time. That's me. I didn't watch shit outside of Iron Chef on YouTube because that shit's fucking awesome.
So for me, very, very short.
Speaking of the game.
Yep. So this is, yeah. This can be probably going to be on this, talk about every single podcast we do. Still playing Satisfactory. Yeah, I think we've sort of done that enough, but I mean, that 1.0 release, broke a lot of factory, which I was expecting to do. So that wasn't surprising. So that wasn't an issue. Had no problems with doing that. But like that game or that 1.0 release is really, really good. Like they've improved a bunch of stuff. The visuals of it, I think I've shown you. We showed you a bit in the quick checkout we did of it. They've just improved the look of that game, even from 0.8 to 1.0, dramatically, as far as I can sort of tell.
That went Unreal 5, didn't it?
Yeah, when Unreal 5 Update 8, I think, did that. But they went to 5.
So it's 5, maybe 5.1 or 5.2 at this point, isn't it?
It's 5.2, I think, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's at least 5. It might even be 5.3. I think it might even be 5.3 now. Not too sure.
Fuck! I didn't know there was an Unreal 5.3.
I think there's an Unreal 5.3. It's definitely 5.2. Yeah. So yeah, it just plays really well now. Like they've improved. Like when we took in the checkout, like back under 0.8 and older. Even I've got the big spread out factory that I've got, you'd have the auto save turned on to save every 10 minutes or something. And it would freeze the entire game for 5 to 6, 7 seconds while it did that save. Now
I remember you mentioning that.
Now they've done this and they've improved that. It's now less than a second that it does it. So, like, it's just impressive what they've done with that update. I'm really fascinated to see the fact I've played. My save is now nearly 1,700 hours long. And I've only played it like in Steam for 8 hours or something. I think I'd have to start from absolute scratch to pick up any of the achievements that they put into the game. So at some point I may do that just to see what that's like. Because I think if I started to actually quote unquote finish the game from this save, Steam's not going to recognise any of that stuff at all, which makes sense. That's fine. So I've got all. Yeah, so I think that's probably what I'll look at doing. I might just even start a new save just to see what it's like to start that game from scratch now, because I've not done that for 4 years or whatever, how long it's been. And I've just started to get into the tier 9 progression that we sort of started looking at briefly in the checkout. And that's just really, really interesting what they're putting into there. All the stuff that's been in that game has been this mysterious item in the game has now got a purpose. there's been resource nodes that have been in that game for ages that have now got a purpose. Um, I think the what's also going to be fascinating is they took when they released the game 1.0, they announced they're bringing it to consoles.
Mm.
Now, I'm not too sure how consoles are going to cope with this particular game. It's got a shitload of simulation built into it, so
Yeah.
it might be okay. But what's fascinating to me is how the hell they're going to make that game work with a controller, and that's
Mm.
absolutely fascinating to me because there are so many things in that game that you don't necessarily need precise movement and control for, but I'm not too sure that control is going to be precise enough, if that makes sense.
Well, there's
Or
also like a bunch of different inputs that make
oh,
use of a fairly wide
there,
variety of keys.
yeah, there's on the bottom you've got your hot bar, which is basically
Mm.
where your things are. You could do that with a D-pad or so they could do that. I think they could have that in there.
Mm.
Um, Obviously your build probably is going to be one of the triggers, I imagine. Or even a face button for that matter. I reckon probably trigger would work better, but I mean, yeah, that as you say, like the amount of options you've got, everything is
Mm.
context sensitive. So you have something activated, or you've got in some particular mode, the same buttons now do different things. So I'm not
Yep.
too sure how it's going to cope with all that stuff. I think the actual movement
When you
will be really decent because
yeah,
moving around is actually it's fairly decent with that. You've got first person control, so that won't be a problem. Um, but yeah, I'm
menu
gonna
navigation, I'd say, would be a fucker.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things where you can because like even when you've got things like so you walk up to an item or a machine and you've got to and you want to overclock the machine. You can actually with
Mm.
PC you can say I want this to be clocked at 133.6666%, and it will do that. It will figure
Mm.
out the maths. So you've got to have some way on a console to be able to have input on those items. So which you can do. You can bring up keypads on console. That's the thing. You can do that. So, but it's going to be really
I
interesting to
think
see it.
both
What's that?
aren't both like can't you can connect a keyboard to both of them. They both recognize keyboards and shit, don't
They do, but I wouldn't be playing that on a because that's you still
they?
that's one option they probably have is you can always just plug a keyboard
Check
into
this
it.
shit out.
But I mean, yeah, the idea is that what they'll then bring that controller support to the PC version.
Yeah.
And they're getting a porting company to do it. They're not actually doing it themselves.
Oh yeah, no,
They've
fuck no.
mentioned the company something fish. I think they've called it Blue Fish or something. I think I can't remember what it's called, but they've mentioned some company that's going to do the porting for them. Um, so yeah, like that, as I said, that game is just I'm really digging it again. Like it's the 1.0 release brought me back in. All my mods still haven't come back, so that's the biggest frustrating at the moment is just the movement around the environment is just too slow for me.
Yeah.
Because I had so many mods that made me move around quicker. Um, but there is it's interesting enough they've actually put into the game quantum technology is the tier 9 stuff. And they've added into that like a portal thing. So you can actually build
Mm.
a portal at one end and have a satellite. You basically have a one-to-one
Oh
transport.
yeah, they did that in No Man's Sky as well.
Okay. So they've done that, and there's actually a mod that basically did that kind of thing. So the mod was way more functionality than what this seems to be, but
Mm.
it's going to be interesting to see because it's like it seems to imply you've got to have some sort of material to do it. I'm not too sure how scarce that's going to be, and am I going to have hundreds of those, or is that going to be an absolute? Yeah, so that's sort of unknown thing. Whereas the mod I
Mm.
just had was as long as the little device had power, it functioned. That was it.
Yeah.
So it was a simpler version, but they've obviously built this into the game world in that you've got to have an item or a piece of material to actually use the teleporter, and hopefully that won't be something that's an absolute pain in the ass to build and make and that sort of thing. But so yeah, now that I've got this tier 9 stuff, I'm now also looking at moving my factory around a little bit, and building a central storage sort of area in the middle of where I had it sort of built. So I'm going to adjust stuff. So I've probably got months of work ahead of me just to build what I wanted to build. Even Tier 9 wasn't even in the game for the game anymore, if that makes sense. I had like heaps of time, heaps of things I wanted to do. So yeah, I guess it's a game that I just sit back and I just get lost in it complete when I play it.
Yeah.
I will sit down and play it and I go, I'll just do this bit and I go, oh shit, that's not working. I'll go fix that up. Oh shit, that means that's not
Oh
working.
fuck, 4 hours have gone.
4 hours have gone. I'm going, shit, I should actually probably have some dinner. So and I think if that game does if they do bring control support to, which they're planning to do that early next year, I'm sitting over there in a chair now, and I'll probably
Graham will never play anything else.
Probably play nothing else because I'll be able to play this really, really easily. Because I've mentioned on this podcast a lot of times, I don't necessarily like playing mouse and keyboard games after working for 8 hours. So
after playing
with work at mouse and keyboard for 8 hours, and then just playing with the mouse and keyboard, just like a distinction of work in a weird way, even though it's not that. So yeah, if they get this game right under control, I have no reason to think they won't. So I think they've got their reputation, they've earned the kudos, whatever you want to call it, that they will get it right. Because this game's been early access for 5 years now, 5.5 years.
And it's not like Coffee Stain haven't made other things that aren't successful and aren't controller based either.
Yeah, so they've got that there. But obviously, this game is really quite unique in what it does in terms of its controller scheme requirements. But I have no doubt they'll get it right. And then when they do, then I'll be playing it probably a shitload more than what I am now.
They're two very different things, but like Stardew Valley works on a controller. No Man's Sky works on a controller.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they are not the level of complexity of a Satisfactory, but if they can both be made to work on a controller, then there's exactly. No reason.
There's no reason to think they can't get it right. That's the Plucky Sky. We've done a quick check out of this a couple of weeks back.
You're about to call it quick look, weren't you?
I was. Yeah, I nearly keep fall into that habit. This game is awesome. I mean, it's on my list to go back to, along with Sumerian 6, Steam World Heist 2. What else do I go back to? What else have I played that I haven't gone back to yet?
That's a good question. That's the better question.
That's a good question. What sort of games have I played this year that I haven't gone back to yet? Let me go and find our list of stuff. No, that's not me.
Caravan Sandwich?
Yep, Caravan Sandwich will be one. Get back to Star Wars Outlaws. I Am Future. I'll get back to that one.
Oh, that's not out. That's not fully out yet, so there's still more to come for that.
Yeah, that's still in early access, that game. So that's still in early access.
The Crust? Was that early access or was that a demo?
That was a game I bought. I think that's still early access, I think. Let me check that. Pretty sure it's early access.
Steam. Helps fucking spell. Fucking hell.
Yeah, that's still in early access.
Yeah.
No, it's out mid-July. Out. So that's out.
No, it's early access.
No, it's out.
I'm seeing an early access game on the store page.
Okay, that's interesting. Again, IGB's got it wrong. We'll have to fix that.
Oh no, when they put it as release date, sometimes they'll have the early access release date and just have that as release.
No, they've got 4 releases here.
Sometimes that happens with. Part of the problem when you just have everything derived from like user based.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but yeah.
It is really fucking funny though. Looking at the list of 2 things, looking at comparing the lists of games that I've done and you've done. I think I've got 4 times the games you do because I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
And like you look at the number of they're just Satisfactory 296, 297, 298, 298. It's literally every single one.
Yeah. So we've got this. We've got this little site we use for between the two of us, and I can look at it. And on the list of games I've played, or games I've mentioned in podcast, that's 34. Steve's done 132. That's the indication of that difference. But one of those games,
which isn't even all the games I've played, because they like, you look at
No.
the YouTube, like we've got the YouTube games that are on there, and I can link games to that.
yeah,
And fucking Friday Night Fun itself has a bunch of different games. Like
Yeah.
Friday's Friday Night Fun had, I think, 11 games. 2,
Yeah,
4,
yeah.
6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 games. Sorry.
yeah. So if,
Granted, that was 5 hours.
so we keep an absolute bucketload of data effectively on what we've been playing, because it helps us when we get to Game of the Year. Oh shit, what did we play this year? Oh, it's all recorded on here. We can go, oh, that's what I played. So yeah, like the difference between you and me. Well, you play a lot more little games because, as you said, you buy a lot of games. I generally just don't do that. So.
And you've spent 1,700 plus hours in Satisfactory.
I've played one game 1,800 hours. Yeah, exactly, or 1,700 hours.
I think they've only ever had 2 games come close, and it was Apex and it was Street Fighter 4.
Yeah, but close, what, 300 hours or 400 hours or 1,000 hours? Like what?
Apex, I had about 900 hours on Steam.
Oh wow, okay, yeah.
And all the Xbox time before that, and then Street Fighter 4, all of the variations of Street Fighter 4 on 360 was 400 to 500 hours, and then probably another.
They have different versions that get released over time, didn't they? So it's had like several.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was like Super Street Fighter 4, Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, all that sort of shit.
Yeah.
Which still ran off. It ran off the Super Street Fighter 4 disc.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep.
I think. I don't know. But yeah, Apex and Street Fighter are the 2 that come closest. And even Apex is like, I probably wouldn't be pushing 1,000 hours in Apex.
But yeah, that's the only 2 games I've played. I think we'll come back to this list next week. It'll probably just be one game. I don't know at this point. Which is
the game.
Yeah, is what it is. But yeah, that's what I have been playing.
Hey, if Satisfactory comes to consoles, there's something coming that might fix that, eh? It's the old PlayStation 5 Pro, eh? Hey!
God, hell.
Fuck that fucking thing.
I've not turned on the PlayStation in 12 months.
I want to, because I want to play Astrobot, but I also want to wait for Astrobot to come to PC.
Assuming it will, yeah. I went to buy that the other day, and where I am, and the cheapest I could find it in a physical store was $90. And I thought, no, not paying $90 for that.
Apparently, it is fairly substantial though.
Yeah, still $90 for nah.
But yeah, there's only 2 console games really that have come out this year that I'm actually interested in, and it's that and Stellar Blade. And Stellar Blade, I think the developers were talking about doing a PC port for that too. So I'll just wait. Are we beginning of the ending, or are we eventing first, then beginning of the ending?
Nah, we'll do eventing.
Eventing! Are you looking that up, or am I streaming it to you?
No, I'll do it here.
Wonderful. All questions we probably could have and should have asked before starting. Oh, fuck me. Why plan anything? It's much more fun to do it by the seat of your pants. So I did, while Graham, you're bringing that up, I did a live talkover of the Xbox Tokyo Game Show, I guess, event. And I did the state of play after the fact. I could have woken up early to actually do it live, but nah. Nah, it was 6 a.m. I wasn't getting up on holidays on 6 a.m. Fuck that. So I did it. I think I did it about 8:30, 9 o'clock. Rolled out of bed, shuffled in here, sat down. Right, let's talk over PlayStation stuff.
So here's the Xbox one.
All right, so Xbox One. Hey, I've said this to you a couple times before, but shocking, it was at the TGS, the Tokyo Game Show presentation. Who would have thought they'd show a bunch of JRPGs? So the games that are listed under that aren't in actual presentation order.
No.
It's just the games that are there. So they showed off that Indiana Jones is going to have a Japanese language version. Which, awesome. Some of the stuff they've shown, the lip syncing didn't seem to quite match up, but that might be obviously something that's done later. What else was so? Off the top of my head, there's only really one thing I thought was awesome in this, and it's further down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. Slitterhead got shown. Nah, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Tanuki Pond Summer.
Mm-hmm.
You're a little raccoon and you're a postman and you have a bike and you can do flips and tail whips on it. It's fucking great. Looks awesome. There's some other things on there that look okay, like that. All you need is help is from Q Games, the Pixel Junk developers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very multiplayer focused.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about doing a closed beta for Fragpunk, which sure, why not?
Mm-hmm.
The Age of Mythology is getting, I think, either Chinese or Japanese faction added to it. Slitterhead, we've seen, they just basically showed that again. But a lot of the stuff here, like, I think, it might have actually came out before the show, but Metaphor ReFantasio has a demo now. And progress, I think, from that carries over into the main game.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the stuff is like remasters or things like that. That Starblights is JRPG out the arse.
Like the Tokyo Game Shows, the presentation was going to be focused on the Japanese market, which makes perfect sense.
Oh, definitely.
So I can kind of see why they were just putting games to basically say these are games that are from that are going to suit your culture.
Yeah,
like a better term. And his games
announcing We Love Katamari.
And his new ones and his remasters and stuff to show that we are supporting your.
There's a fucking lot of remasters of old RPGs coming out.
Yeah, which is, I think...
that Bleach Rebirth of Souls, based on the Bleach anime/manga, but it's basically an arena fighting game like Power Stone.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. The Fallout 76 thing. So, what they showed of Fallout 76 was... hey, here's some pictures of all the really neat camps that people have made, and cats and dogs are coming to the game. Boom! That's it. And they finished it off by going, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster coming to Xbox. Like, here's 3 different, Square RPG series getting remasters coming to Xbox. That was their finishing. I'm like, what are you doing? State of Play, you say there's 43 games here. Technically, that's correct. They did have Mark Cerny. They trotted Mark Cerny out again to go, hey, PlayStation 5 Pro, here's some games that are going to be running on it or getting PlayStation 5 Pro versions, and some of them are being announced for the first time here. And that's where some of these games coming up are, like Resident Evil Village was that, Dragon's Dogma 2 was that, I think Gran Turismo 7 was that, Horizon was the remaster. So there's a remaster.
Remaster on PlayStation 5, generally, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a full-on remaster, remaking, coming to PlayStation 5 and PlayStation PC.
Yep.
The PC version has been out for 4 years. It's now off sale.
Yep. Yeah, which is a shitty thing.
So you can fucking buy the new one.
Yep. And also, they've also got to have a PSN account to play it.
Yep.
Which, that's just so fucking stupid on their part. But anyway, is what it is. They just don't.
Stellar Blade is getting some Nier Automata shit, which, okay. If that I would like a new Nier Automata. That game was great.
Yeah, so all these games are they're getting PS5 versions, so that's a lot of them.
A lot of them are PS5 Pro. Pal World it's getting a PS everywhere except Japan is getting a PS5 version of Pal World, because that's where Japan is where that lawsuit is where Nintendo filed the lawsuit. Hell Is Us got a re-showing. Roll it back up a touch. There. Hell Is Us got a that was apparently announced and shown like a few years back. But that got a re-showing and that looks pretty cool. Fear the Spotlight is Blumhouse Games. Blumhouse Films does horror, a lot of horror-based stuff. And they're putting out a game later this year. Towers of Agaspa is a games of service, because of course it fucking is. They showed off the DLC for Alan Wake 2, The Lake House, which, let's go. I'm ready for that. Apparently Monster Hunter Wilds got a release date during this thing. I thought it had one, but I must not have been paying attention. Keanu Reeves is voicing Shadow the Hedgehog. Moving on. The Metro Awakening VR looks like it could be really cool, but it's also fucking VR. Fuck that shit.
Mm.
Lego Horizon's got a date.
Yeah,
There's the
November,
speed running. Sorry?
sometime in November as well. I think it's November for that.
Yes.
Horizon. I think something.
Mid-November. Both the Horizon Remaster and Lego Horizon are out within 2 or 3 weeks of each other.
Mm.
Fantasian Neo Dimension is just a JRPG. I think the big ticket item, I mean, outside, look, there's some DLC coming to Ninja Turtles, the Shredder's Revenge. I don't know who any of the characters in that are. Like they're geckos or something. Ghost of Yotei is the big ticket item out of this.
It was the actual new announcement of a new
Yeah.
well, it's a quote-unquote sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, but it's a new IP theoretically.
I wouldn't call it, to call it a sequel, it's the next game from Sucker Punch in the Ghost world, but it doesn't follow Jun Sakai's story.
Yeah, it doesn't follow this. It's not a sequel per se, but it's a game.
So it's 100 years later, after Ghost of Tsushima. There's a gun. You can use a gun. But hey, Ghost of Tsushima is pretty good. I'll play another one of those.
The other piece of news that sort of came out, not as a part of any of these announcements, but was actually related to, was up here.
Yep, that got a delay.
Assassin's Creed Shadows got a delay to 2025 or February, I think it was, if I recall.
February's gotten fucking killer now.
Yeah, so that was interesting to see that get delayed. I think it's the usual stuff, polishing, more time to fix stuff. I think was the usual sort of reason.
They actually, like, the developers we need more fucking time.
Yeah.
And it'll be a day one launch on Steam, which it hasn't been for a while.
Mm. So, I mean, I found both, once I saw both lists of games from both the shows, because these things were about a couple of days apart, weren't they? I think so. One was Tuesday, 24th.
Literally a day apart.
So they were basically there. Like the Tokyo Game Show, like the Xbox One was actually at the show, whereas this was just a state of play time to be at the same time as Tokyo Game Show, so not they're related. That's how Sony do things these days. So I looked at both lists and thought, okay. I was pleased to see Indiana Jones get another look in, just to say it's still on its go, not being delayed, as Assassin's Creed Shadows did. But in terms of what I saw listed there, nothing really stood out at all. Other than I think, I liked. I thought that was like what you mentioned.
Tanuki Ponsama.
But other than that, I just think, okay, it's not aimed at me. Fair enough, that's cool. And when I saw the list of stuff in here, I thought, oh geez, lots of remasters, of course. The only thing I liked out this whole state of play thing was the release date for that.
Lego Horizons.
That was the only thing I was really out of everything in there, because a lot of VR don't give a rat's ass about VR. And remasters for their console don't give a shit about that either. So
that's where this list of games is somewhat misleading, because it's got 43 games here, but a lot of it is, hey, PlayStation 5 Pro version.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a it's the list is without context, I think, is what we can probably say. But it is a corrective list of what was talked about, which is what the idea behind this thing was. But again, we pulled this from the IGDB, so this is not something we've come up with. But But yeah, I mean, other than that, and then Ghost of Yotei being getting announced, so I thought, okay, I can see why they would make another one of those types of games. It's done very well for them.
Definitely.
But yeah, out of all of that stuff, all I was really wondering about was, cool, date for that guy.
I'd be curious if they go simultaneous PS5 PC launch for Ghost of Yotei.
I doubt it.
Track record suggests they probably won't.
No, I'd be surprised if they do. It's not, Sony just aren't doing that, so yeah. Yeah, but
February has gotten fucking huge.
Yeah, February's big.
Civilization 7. Kingdom Come 2. Whatever. Assassin's Creed Shadows. Avowed. The pirate Yakuza, which, what the fuck? They're doing a pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. That's hilarious. Monster Hunter Wilds. Like, that's 5 arguably borderline between 30 and 40 hour and 100 plus hour games. And big AAA games, really, too. Fuck. And I mean, like, there's also the other, which, I mean, grand scheme of things, what does it mean? Not much. But when I watched All In, the AEW pay-per-view, when they replayed it on ESPN, Will Ospreay had this big Assassin's Creed themed entrance, and you had Excalibur going, Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out November 11th, or whenever it was meant to come out, and now it's like 3 weeks later. Excalibur, no. No, it's not. And Will Ospreay's sad. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Yep. Beginning of the end. We have the usual YouTube channel, which has got checkouts on it. It's got your various Friday night funs and what's your new one? Holiday Hangouts or something. You've got a new one. Holiday.
Before I did the talk over of the Xbox One, I'm like, there's some games I want to play and see if they're any good. I'm going to stream it. Why not? And then I'm like, by the time I got done with it, I'm like, wait, this doesn't. The number of different times I'm doing longer streams that are just randomly playing games that fit sort of the Friday night fun, but aren't on Fridays. And now I'm just having to come up with names like Thugged Out Thursday, which I liked. But so I just put Holiday Hangouts as, hey, this is kind of Friday night fun, but when I'm on holidays and I feel like booting the stream up, that's where I'm going to put them. That aren't just checkouts or on Friday or the Saturday special, which even the Saturday special, probably doesn't work as well, but whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, twitch.tv/Enemy Starship. Follow me there.
Yep.
And subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yep. And you get all the content.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do a checkout every couple of weeks. We do a checkout. Not too sure what we'll do next weekend. Have to think about that.
That's something to figure out next weekend.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. But yeah, we've got that. We've got obviously the podcast goes up on the podcast feed regularly and also on the YouTube channel. We'll do another one of these in a couple of weeks. We'll do checkouts next weekend. Your stuff going up in between. I should have another Solar Factory going up this week as well. But I think that kind of covers all the bits and pieces we do.
Pretty much.
I think that'll do. So we might as well wrap this one up and see you all in a couple of weeks. Bye.
You can't see me, but I'm waving. Goodbye.